Hey everyone, Daryl from Victory 4x4, all loaded up and ready for some adventure this weekend. And I figured this would actually be a great time to talk to you a little bit about the Tacoma and towing and kind of my experiences with it. I've been towing this setup for about, I guess, 2 years now, maybe a year and a half or so. Everywhere from this truck being totally stock to this truck being where it is right now, 6-inch lift, 35-inch tires. So quick video, kind of let you know what you can expect when you're towing with your Tacoma. All right, now on paper, I believe they say that these trucks can pull like 6,000 pounds or 6,500 pounds, depending on configuration of the truck. I think that's nuts. I don't think there's any way that I'd feel comfortable doing that. Maybe you would, maybe you'd feel more comfortable than I would, but there's no way. When I first got this truck, when it was totally stock, we had a 25-foot travel trailer. It was kind of a tack and staple, or whatever you want to call it, trailer, aluminum siding, 8 foot wide. It weighed about 4,400 pounds dry. I did not like towing that camper with this truck, but luckily, quickly, we upgraded. This is a Coachman Apex Nano. It is a 213 model. It is about 25 feet long from receiver hitch to tail. It is about a 22-foot box or so. It weighs right around 3,800 pounds dry. And I'm going to tell you, I think that's really the sweet spot for pulling a camper or travel trailer behind the Tacoma. I think you want to be right around that 36 to 4,000 pounds dry weight. That's going to keep you well into the tow rating, but the big issue with the tow rating on a Tacoma is your maximum tongue weight. It's right around 500 or 600 pounds, and that's not very much. For instance, this camper dry has a tongue weight of about 450 to 475 pounds or so. And you got to remember, you're going to take away from that tongue weight with whatever gear you have in the cab of that truck. So, or I'm sorry, gear in the bed of that truck and in the cab too, I guess. But the kayaks, the bikes, the refrigerator in the back, whatever you've got takes away from your load capacity. So I think one of the most important things you're going to have to worry about is frontal area. And that's this rectangle or the square right here on the front of whatever you are towing. We picked a camper that's 7.5 feet wide. There are a lot that are 8 feet wide, but there are fewer that are 7.5 feet. But the reason we did that is because it's a lot less area here on the front, and that's going to be a lot less drag. And drag is really what's going to kill you in these trucks when you're pulling down the highway. So this camper 7.5 foot wide and about 9 foot 10 or so tall. So it's kind of short, kind of narrow, and then it has this really nice curved profile here that helps the wind kind of roll over it. And that's going to help with your fuel economy. It's going to help with wear and tear on your truck. Super important. I think that's almost or more important than the weight of the camper. The weight of the camper is going to affect handling. It's going to affect wear and tear, obviously. It's going to affect those emergency situations in the truck. But that frontal area is going to make your life a lot better. And then obviously you're going to need a really great weight distribution setup, and then some sort of sway control. Always super important when you're thinking about towing really anything behind a truck of this size. So, you know, that's your considerations for weight. That's your considerations for frontal area and size. So you always got to think about that. Obviously, you're going to want to have a camper with trailer brakes, and pretty much they all have trailer brakes now. And then you're going to want to get a great brake controller. I run this Tacoma P3. It's a smart brake controller. It senses via inertia how fast you're stopping, and it also uses your brake switch to know if you're stopping. And it just makes smart decisions about how much brake to put on the trailer. And with a lighter truck like this Tacoma, that really makes things a lot more comfortable. If you have an automatic, one thing you're really going to want to be concerned with is transmission temperature. I use a scan gauge. It plugs into your OBD2. It tells you the transmission temperature in the trans and in the lines. But I believe that someone has figured out the code to use one of those Bluetooth dongles. And I know on Android there's an app called Torque, cheap to free. That whole setup is going to be like $20 or $30 to get trans temps. But in the Tacoma itself, there's a trans warning light that the ECMs controls. That warning light goes off at about 300 degrees. And at that point, you're done. Don't count on that warning light at all. I would say that 225 is about the max of where you want to live, and then think about the fact that trans fluid breaks down pretty quickly depending on temperature. So you get above that 225 too often, you're gonna have to think about more frequent trans fluid changes in these trucks. And I know they recommend not changing the trans fluid, or it's a sealed unit, quote unquote, so it's just a whole mess get a trans temp gauge, and if you see that thing high all the time, either add some auxiliary trans cooling or think about how much weight or how much frontal area that your camper has. So I think that's pretty much it. Our bumper here at Victory 4x4, we use the factory receiver hitch, and we do that just because these trucks are rated to tow so much, like I said before, like 6,000 pounds. We didn't want to have to worry about rating our receiver to handle that same amount. So we use the factory receiver. It's nice and low, so you don't have to worry about your weight distribution hits or whatever, messing with all that, height adjustments and all that mess. It just seems to work out way better. The last thing, fuel economy. Even before this truck was lifted on 35-inch tires, I got terrible fuel mileage while pulling this camper. I think we were getting between 7 and 10 depending on headwind. And then after I re-geared the truck and lifted it and put on 35, we're running 488 gears. I still get that same 7 to 10 miles per gallon. So it's not great. It really isn't great, and I don't think you should expect it to be. If you want a truck that's going to get better gas mileage towing and be more comfortable towing, you might want to think about a larger truck, a Tundra, or maybe even if you got a big camper, maybe something else, a 3/4 ton from the domestic companies. But because on the highway with this thing, you're going to be floating between, third and fourth gear. You never want to tow in overdrive. So if you think about those RPMs, you're running, 4 to 6,000 RPMs constantly while towing. So that gets pretty terrible fuel economy. I think that's everything. I think I covered most of the things that you might need to know while towing with your Tacoma. If you have any questions about this or comments or whatever, post them below. I'll try to answer them either in those comments or I'll make a new video for you. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Okay. Hey, let me in, dog. Let me in. Come on. Come on. No. No. No.
Nope, stop people.
I'm not paying the bacon toll. Get out of my way.
Give me the bacon.
Amber, I know that's you.